Hello viewers, welcome back to this course. In this lesson, we are going to discuss about middleware in Node Express. You are going to understand what middleware is, how the Express request response cycle works, and how to create and use your own middleware functions for logging, authentication, and error handling, and many other things you can do with middleware. Middleware is a code which runs on the server between getting a request and sending a response. If you want to learn more about middleware, you can visit this link I provided here so you can get more understanding of middleware. Alright? Middleware functions are functions that have access to the request object, the response object, and the next middleware function in the application request response cycle. It is simply a function that has access to the request object and the response object and the next function. So it can perform any tasks, logging, parsing, authentication, modify the request, response, object, end the cycle, or call the next function in line. So how this will work is that when you make a request to the server. Then before you get a response, the code that runs between the request and you getting a response is called middleware. Just from the name, you can see it is in between the request and response. When you make a request, before you get response, the middleware run. That is actually how the middleware function in background, guys. So it is actually run in between the request and response. Just like I said, if you want to learn more, this is a link. You can learn more about middleware from this link, so you get better understanding of middleware. What you should bear in mind is that middleware execute in the order they are defined. This is a typical example of middleware in Express. For example, where you make a request, your intention is to get the content of the home page. For example, a middleware is placed before the get route, okay? So after the get route, you also have another middleware. The most common method you use in Express to call a middleware is app.use. Okay, when you say app.use, you are actually calling a middleware that you pass into the use method. Likewise, what we have here, when you say app.use, you pass the function that you want to execute as a middleware. All right, that is actually a middleware, and this is the route. This is the route here. So this route, you make a request to get content from this route. Then this middleware, the first middleware will run, the second middleware will run before you actually get your response back. Okay, that is how middleware work, guys. Common use cases. Middleware is used for logging. You use it for recording data about incoming requests. Authentication and authorization. You use middleware for verifying user credentials and permissions. Parsing request bodies. You can use middleware for handling different data formats like JSON data or URL encoded data and any other data type you may think of. You can use middleware to parse them. Middleware for error handling. Middleware are mostly used for catching and processing errors that occur during the request response cycle. You can also use middleware for data validation, ensuring the integrity and format of incoming data. Okay, setting headers. Middleware can be used for adding or modifying HTTP headers, which we have already discussed in the previous lesson. You can check a lesson about HTTP for you to understand HTTP headers. Okay, types of middleware. We have application level middleware. This is bound to the app instance using app.use or app.method. When you call app.use method, you pass the function you want to run as middleware. Or when you say app.get, you are actually using middleware. That is application level middleware. All those routes we defined earlier where we say app.get, app.post, app.delete, all those ones is application level middleware, guys. We also have another one, router level middleware. This is bound to an instance of express.router. If you don't know about express.router, we are coming to that, okay? There is a class dedicated to express.router for routing. There is a router level middleware. That is what you should bear in mind, and we are coming to discuss about Express router, alright? We also have built-in middleware. The built-in middleware is provided by Express, such as express.static for serving static files. Right in this section, I'm going to show you how to serve a static file using express.static middleware, okay? We also have third-party middleware. This is a module installed via npm. For example, when we were doing installation, we install CORS. We also have different middlewares that you can install from npm library, okay? And I'm going to show you how to use CORS and other third-party middleware in this section, okay? Alright guys, let me show you the demo of middleware in Express, okay? Let's go to VS Code so that you will understand all these middlewares that we have already discussed. So let's go to code. This is the app we are building, guys, okay? This is the app we are building. I'm going to use it to demonstrate how the middleware work. Okay, we have the dummy data we have been using for testing before now. I also have the route we defined earlier in the first section of this course. So if you want to see how we define it, you can also check that section for you to be able to follow along and get all this code, okay? So we have defined our route. This is the home route where we are serving just a dummy data here. We also have the get post route where we are serving all the posts. We have the route to get post by ID where we are serving single post. We also have a route to add a new post, route for updating post, and route for deleting post. Let me quickly show you all these things we discussed about middleware. Now, we said that middleware is a function, guys. You can see from here we have already used middleware. App.use. When you see app.use, you are actually using a middleware, guys. This is an example of built-in middleware, alright, which are provided by Express. You can see it is actually a function you pass into the use method. So let's define our own middleware before we show you other examples. For example, I can equally define a function here. I can call this function anything, guys. It must not necessarily be called middleware. You can call it anything, okay? You can call it pizza, you can call it cake, anything, okay? So I just decide to call it middleware, and it is going to be a function, and this function is going to give us request, response. In a normal get method, we mostly use request and response, but this middleware can have another method called next. This next is actually a function you call to allow other middlewares to be executed or other functions to be executed. So we just pass it like this. So you are going to see how to use this next function so that you understand it better. I'm going to make it arrow function like this. You can see this function has three parameters: request, response, and next. I'm going to console.log. Let me use template literal like this. Let me just type a text middleware code. Let me add a new line. I type the request.method. All these requests we have been using, you are going to access the method of the request, whether it is get request, post request, put request, and many other requests that are available. Can access it from the request.method, so that we are going to access it from here. Then let me add a new line again. I'm going to access the request.url. Okay, let me just do it like this. Let me call method. Then this one is going to be URL. I'm going to access request.url. Okay, let me just name it like this, middleware. So you can see it is just a function, guys, that have access to the request, response, and next. And we are just logging something. I'm logging the middleware called the method of the request and also the URL. Before I show you the function of this next, let us test our application. I'm going to open the console, then npm run dev to start our application server. Okay, the server is running. So I'm going to open it in a browser, guys. Let me just open a browser. Okay, you can see we have the home route that says server is running success through. Let's go to our terminal. Okay, we are not seeing any console because we have not used this middleware. So to use this middleware, I'm going to use it like this, app.use. Then you just pass the name of the function, so middleware. So I'll just name the function middleware. So if you name this function cake, you need to pass it like that. So for example, if you change it to cake, just like I say, this function can be anything, can name it anything. So if I just say app.use cake, and when you are using your own custom function, you don't need to call it like this. You don't need to call it like this, the way we call express.json, we call the function. No, but if you define your own custom function, this is my own custom function. So you don't need to call it. So you just pass only the function. Express will call it automatically. So just pass it like this. Let me save the work now. Let's go back to our browser. Let me refresh this page. Okay, now you can see our app is hanging, guys. Our app is hanging, but it's okay. You can see it is just loading. It is not the app just hang. But if we go to our console now, you can see the middleware call function has been executed. Okay, and we have the method is get and the URL is slash. Okay, so and our app hang. If you go to our browser, you can see it is still hanging. Okay, for you to see it, let me just close this one and open a new tab. Let me just go back to this URL and press enter. You can see the app just hang. Okay, it is not even showing any other thing. But when you go to the console, we have another log. You can see middleware code again, middleware code, method get URL. The reason why we are not getting any content, you can see it is still loading. The reason why we are not getting any content is that when the middleware is run, it just stop here. It just stop at this middleware. That's why we only get the console.log. We actually make requests to get this content, but because this middleware has already intercepted the call, so it ended up in the middleware. For you to be able to access the route you are actually wanted to get something from, you need to call the next function. That is the function of this next. What I'm going to do is that after this log, let me call the next function. Just call it like this. It is a function. Just call the function. Express has given you this function in background. All you need to do is to call it. When you call it like this, let's go back to our browser and make requests again. So let me save my work now. Okay, so let's go back to our browser and make requests again. Go back to the browser. Let me refresh. This time around, you can see we have access to the content. You can see server is running. This is the home route. If we go back to the terminal, you can see we have the middleware called method is get. We also get the URL. This is because we make a get method. Let's try with Postman so that we can access the post method. Let me open Postman. Let me do a get method again to this URL. Let me send the request. Okay, we have server is running from the home route, and if you go back to the terminal, you are going to see the log and the method is get. Now if I go back to the Postman, let me go back. Now this time around, let me make a post request. And when I want to post something, I need to access the post /post, okay? So I can be able to add a new post. Let me go to the body, maybe, okay, I have a title. I want to add a new post, title, content. Can also add author. The author is Jendo. Okay, now let us make a post request to post data into this URL and watch if we are going to get a middleware call. Let me send this request. Okay, a new post has been created, guys. Okay, and this time we made a post request and our post is now returning ID of 7. So if we go back to the terminal, let me go back. You can see now, guys, a middleware is called. The method of the request is post request, and this is the URL. Okay, this is the URL. You can see that each time you visit any route, this middleware is called, guys. Each time you visit any route, whether you make a post request, delete request, put request, this middleware will be called. Okay, this particular middleware will be called in all the routes. This one we define here is actually our custom middleware, but it is also application level middleware. Okay, it works in all your route, and all you need to do is to define this function. There is nothing stopping you from passing this middleware like this, guys. Let me just copy it and pass it like this. Just pass the function like this. Nothing stopping you from doing it like this. Okay, so we are not calling the cake function again, so we are just passing it direct here. And if I save it and go back, let's go to the Postman. Let me make another post request. Let me make another post request. You can see another post has been created, and if I go back, can see the middleware call has been run. So the same thing. So if I go back and make a get request to get all the posts, okay, now we have 7 posts, we get all the posts. But if we go back now, go back to the terminal, you can see now it is a get method. Middleware is, you can see middleware is called get method, and it is /post. Okay, we make a request to this endpoint /post to get all the posts. If we go to the route that get a single post, like this route here, where we are getting single post, app.get single post, we go back to the Postman. Let me get post number 1 with ID of 1 and make a get request, and we have a post with ID of 1. And if I go back to the terminal, you can see we make a get request to this /URL, and you can see the method is get, and we have this in middleware code again. Okay, so you can agree with me, guys, that this application level middleware will be called in all your routes when you define it in application level like this. I'm going to show you illustration of other middlewares, guys, but I hope by now you already understand application level middleware. Thank you for watching this section. Hello viewers, welcome back to this session. In this lesson, we are going to discuss about building middleware in Express. We have used building middleware, but I want to illustrate to you how it actually works, guys. Building middlewares are provided by Express. Okay, it comes along with Express. When you install Express, it comes inbuilt with Express. So let me comment this one for the meantime. So the one we defined earlier, let me just comment it so that you will see this one in action. Okay, let me also get rid of it. Just get rid of it like this. We have already used inbuilt middleware here, as you can see it, express.json. What this middleware does is that it passes JSON data. You can see from the definition here, the return middleware that only pass JSON and only look at the request where the content type header matches the type option. What it simply means is that when you are sending a JSON data, it is coming as a string, it's coming as a text. When it reaches the server, this middleware is going to pass it so that it can return the object, okay? So it will return a JSON object, at a JavaScript object, okay? This middleware actually convert the JSON string to JavaScript object. So, and without it, you cannot be able to access the body that you send to the server through JSON data, okay? So let me just illustrate this so that we understand it better. Let's go to Postman. When we are making a post request, we are sending this data. Okay, this data we are sending is actually being passed by the express.json. Let me show you in action. Let me send a post request. Let me just send this post request so that you will see it in action. I send this post. The server is already running, so let me just send post. Now I added a new post, guys. Now it's saying post number 8. It's because I have not saved the work from the previous lesson. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to comment this line so we see this in action. I just commented it and save it. The list of our posts, they are 6. That is the one we are just using for testing. We have 6 posts. Now let us try to add the new post using the post method. This is where we define the function. So let's go back to the Postman. Now let's try to add this data, guys. Let's send this data again. Let me send it. Okay, now I'm getting error, guys. We are coming to a middleware that will enable us to handle error, but now we are getting error. That's what you should bear in mind. Okay, and if you go back to the server, you go to the back to the server, you can see we have this error. Why this error occur is that you can see type error cannot destructure property title of request.body as it is undefined. Okay, so when we are making a post request, we are trying to destructure this title content from request.body, but this time around, request.body is undefined. This is because we are not passing the body. Okay, we are not actually getting the body. It is undefined by default. If I log request.body, so just log it like this. Let me save it. So if I log it like this, you can see it is going to be undefined. Let's go back to the Postman. Let me send the request once again. Yeah, we get the same error, but if we go back to our server, you can see the request.body is undefined. You can see it is undefined here. Why it is undefined? It is because we are not passing the JSON data that will come into the server. And that is exactly what this middleware is doing, guys. If I uncomment it now and save my work, okay, now I have 6 posts. Let's go back to the Postman. Let me send the request again. You can see this time a new post is created, guys, and you can see the ID is 7. Sample post, and this is a sample post, has been created and there is no error. If I do get request to all the posts, we are going to have 7 posts, and you can see the new post has been added here. All right, so that is it, guys. And if I go to the terminal now, you can see the post, the new post has been logged. This is because we are logging the request.body. Okay, this is it here. Okay, request.body is where we are logging it, and you can see it is no longer undefined. I've already explained this one. I commented here earlier in the first session of this course. Okay, so this one is actually a middleware that comes with Express that allows you to pass a form data. When you send a form data from HTML, this is the middleware that is going to pass it, okay? When you enter your username and email address and password through form, and when you submit that form, when it comes to the Express server, this is the middleware that is going to pass it. Just like this one is passing JSON data, this one is going to pass form data, okay? But because we are not expecting form data from this API, that's why I just commented it out. But that is to tell you that if you are expecting both form data and JSON data, you can just allow both of them to be active, okay? I hope you understand how Express.json middleware work, guys. The next video, I'm going to show you how to serve a static file using Express middleware, okay? So, see you in the next video. Hello viewers, welcome back to this session where we are discussing about middleware in Node Express. In this lesson, we are going to actually learn how to serve a static file using Express middleware. What I mean by a static file is a file that you want to serve to the public. So without needing to restrict the access from the server. So let me show you example. I have a basic web here. I just have the HTML, style sheet, JS, images. Okay. Also have a font also, just your normal website. Okay. So you can understand this structure, guys. Assuming you want to serve this content, let me open it in a browser so you can see. This is what I have here, guys. So let me just close it and also close the browser. Now, assuming you want to serve this content, assuming you want to serve it to the public, this is where we left in the previous lesson. So I'm going to create a folder in our server. I click new folder. Let me name it public. Okay, I just named this folder public. You can call this folder anything. I'm just using the web convention, but you can call it anything. I can call it view. So if I go back and rename it, I can go back and rename this folder to be view, the views or view. Okay, you can call it anything. You can call it cake. Whatever you want to call this folder, you can call it. So I'm going to call my own public. I'm going to move this file that I show you to this folder I created. Okay, I will just move everything, just basic web application. For illustration purpose, I just move everything into this folder. Now that I move everything into this folder, if you host this web application, nobody can be able to access this page. Nobody, because it is in the server. Because it is in server, you need to make public access to this folder to be able to serve this HTML. Alright, so to do that, you can actually, since we are discussing about middleware, there are different ways of sending files, guys, but our concentration on is on how to use middleware. Alright, so there are several ways of doing it, but our major concentration now is how to use middleware to serve this file. Let me start the application. Let me open the terminal and start the application. npm run dev to start it like this. So it have started. If I go back our application, this is our home route. It's just serving this JSON data. So if I try to access public, guys, public folder I created, you cannot get this route, cannot be able to access this public folder except you make it public. Let's see how to make it public, guys. I go back to our application. Let's go back like this. To make it public, you use the app to call the middleware app.use. Here you use the express, okay, just like what we did here. You can see we are using building middleware. So you just say express. So you are going to get the middleware from the express. Then you dot. Here you are going to actually access the method called static like this. You need to call it as a function. Remember, I've already told you if you are using the built-in middleware, you need to call it. Unlike our own, we don't need to call it. Express will call our own in the background, but when you're actually using the built-in, you need to call it like this. Now we need to pass some argument, okay? When you call your function like this, you are going to see that it accepts the root and also option. And the root is actually a string that represents the root folder you want to actually serve. Okay, so the root folder you want to actually serve is what you need to pass here. So you can see we created the folder called public. We have already placed our web content inside it. If I just type public like this public folder contains HTML, just like what we have here, guys. What is going to happen is that Express is going to check if there is index.html in this public folder. If there is any index.html, just like the one we have here, it is going to override the home route. It is going to override this route we have here, this slash. This is the home route. Okay, if it is a domain name, this is your domain name. So it is going to override it with the index.html and save it in this route. Okay, so I will still allow this one to be running so you will see the difference. I'm going to save the work now. Normally, if I comment this, let me just comment it for the moment. If I go back to the home route, this is the home route here, go to the browser. This is what we are getting. Okay, let me just close this one. This is what we are getting. This thing is what we serve in the home route, this is exactly what we define here. Exactly what we define here. Slash res.send this message. That's what we are getting. Let me uncomment this one. Okay, let me uncomment it and save it. Now let's go back to the browser. Let me refresh it now. Do you see that it has served our web page? It has served our web page that is available in public folder. That's our basic app. Both the CSS and JavaScript and the HTML, everything has been served from the public folder. Let me go back and you can see that it has overwritten this. So it has overwritten this route. This just by using the express.static as overwriting this route. So that is how to serve a static file, guys. This express.static is when you pass the root folder, it is going to serve it as a public file. You can see that from the public folder, I have the font awesome, I have the images, all the images are now available. All the images were served in our application, the JavaScript, and the CSS as well. Okay, so that is how to serve a static file or a web page using middleware in Express. If you know that you are going to serve a static file like this, so there is no need of defining this home route. I can comment it out or get rid of it. Let me save it and go back to our home route. And we have the same thing. Okay, since this course is all about designing API, I will not bother much of serving the public folder. I will just comment it and leave it here for you. Likewise, the form data parser, can also comment it out. Maybe uncomment this one so that we can be able to access the main route. Can be able to access the main route using this route. Let me save the work now. If I go back to the browser and refresh, it is going to serve the data. Okay, just like this. Since our course is all about designing API, I'm going to remove the public folder before the next lesson. And in the next lesson, I'm going to show you other types of middlewares. Thank you for watching this session. Hello viewers, welcome back to this course. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to use course middleware in Express. When we were installing packages, if you go to package.json, you are going to see some of these dependencies. Here you can see course. You can see it is a third-party middleware which we install via npm. The CORS stand for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. That is the full meaning of CORS, Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. And I'm going to show you how to use it as a middleware. This middleware allows access from different domains to your application. If you look at our terminal, you can see our app is running on localhost port 3000. That is a domain. It means that this our server by default allow access from the same domain. They allow access from the same domain. Okay, let us import the CORS, guys. Let me just go to the top and import CORS from CORS. To call this middleware, under the middleware section where we are calling our middleware, I'm going to call app.use. Then you pass the CORS. You call it as a function. Again, when you install a third-party middleware, you need to call it as a function, just like this. It's going to use the default setting, all right? Before we make use of this CORS, let me show you the problem it solved. Let me just comment it. I just comment it so that you will see the problem this thing is going to solve. Save the work. Let me open a demo website that I have started. Let me open this demo website. Okay, so this is a demo website that I just started. And you can see, welcome to CORS test. Okay, we are going to test it. I'm going to open the terminal and go to console. Let's clear, go to the console and clear it. Okay, so let me show you the simple code that is actually running in background. Okay, this is the simple code that I put here. Now we have a button. We have this button, make request. And when you click on this button, it is going to run this function, guys. It's going to run this function, and it's a one-line function. You can see it. It's going to get post from this URL. This post that we normally get from the browser. Let me open the browser again and go to localhost port 3000/post. It's going to give us all our 6 posts. Okay, it is the same URL that I've already copied into this application. This is actually different application. Okay, and you can see this application is running on this host, localhost port 5500. So you can see this is our own server, the URL from our server. This is it here. Okay, you can see port 3000, localhost port 3000. This one is running on port 5500. So they are actually running in different domain. Okay, that is what we mean by cross-origin. Cross-origin, different domain. Let me clear the console. From this code, you can see we are making a fetch request to this our post, to this our server that have the post. We are making a request from port 5500 to port 3000, as you can see it. Let us just test this up, guys. So let me click on make request. You can see we have error, guys. Access to fetch at. We are trying to make a fetch request. We are using fetch API to make a request to this endpoint, which is where our post is residing, where we are getting the post from the browser. But now we are trying to make the request from this origin, okay, localhost port 5500, and you can see it has been blocked by CORS policy. And here it is saying that no access control allow origin header is present on the requested resources. So this header is access control allow origin. It is a header you need to set at the header of your response to be able to get this response. At the header of your response, you need to set a header known as access control allow origin to be able to get this resource. And that is exactly what the core middleware is doing in background, guys. This middleware is actually setting that header for us. The middleware is setting the header, so we don't need to do it manually. There is nothing stopping you from doing it manually, but when you do it manually, you have to define your own middleware to be able to access the content. What you should bear in mind, this course policy is implemented by the browser, not actually the server. This Chrome browser, for example, is the one that implemented this policy. It is the browser that actually blocking this access, not the server. How do you know that it is not the server blocking it? That is when we make a request from Postman, there is no blockage. The reason why there is no blockage is that Postman has been set to bypass that core policy. What you should bear in mind is that it is not a server blockage, it's actually the browser behind the scene blocking you from accessing that content. So if I make a GET request using Postman, you can see I get all my posts, no blockage. So we have been doing it before now, but I'm just using it to explain the course policy. Now let's go back. To be able to access this resource from this origin, you need to set this header. You need to set the header. I go back to application, go back. This time around, I'm going to uncomment app.use course. Uncomment it, save it. Let's go back to our browser from different origin, which is this one, make request. Let me just clear this so that you will see it clean. Let me make request now. You see we have our 6 posts, guys. We are getting this post. Alright, we are getting this post. This is because we have already set the header from the server. And when we are making request from this URL from different domain, the browser see that the header has been set and it was able to make the request and get response. I hope with these examples and illustration, guys, you now understand the course policy and also how the browser implement it. You can read more, okay, and other settings you need to pass here, guys. In the next video, we're going to learn about other middlewares, guys. Thank you for watching this session. Hello viewers, welcome back to this session. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to define a middleware that enables us to catch all routes. We are going to define a middleware that enables us to catch all routes in our app. Let's see how to do it. Just like we have already learned that a middleware is a function, I'm going to define a function. You can call this function anything, guys, but I'm going to call mine not found equals to it is a function. I'm going to access the request and the response like this. If you are using older function of Express like Express 4, here you can see that I'm using Express 5. Alright, but in Express 4, what you normally do is you define catch all route. Let me show you the feature that is available in Express 4, app.all. So you normally define a route like this, okay, in Express 4. Then you put a white card like this, you access the request and the response just like any other route we have already defined. Okay, then you will do it like this. Then you say rest.status. Maybe you want to send 404.json message, then not found, just like this. So if you do it now in Express 5, you get error. You can see we already have an error, guys. In Express 4, it will work. This one will work in Express 4, and if you are using Express 4, just try it, okay? So it is going to work. It's going to catch all the routes. So when you visit a page that doesn't exist on your server, this is what you will see, okay? That is in Express 4. Alright, so but now you can see it has crashed our application. So you can see our server has been crashed because we use this method. This is because Express 5 has removed this feature. Okay, it has removed it. So, but Express 4, it is still working. Okay, so I'm going to just remove this and show you the way to do it. Let me save the work. That's why we are defining this function, guys. I just define a normal function that take request and response. Now, I'm going to use rest.status404.json. I'm going to just send this message. The message is the content you are looking for is not found. This is going to be our catch all route message, guys. Okay, you can use this function to serve any file, just like what we are doing in any of these routes. You can use this function to serve any file. I'm just using it to send a simple message of 404, but it's not restricted to only 404 content. You can actually serve anything you think of using this function. All right. How do you implement it to be a catch-all route? So to implement it, you use it as a middleware. What you need to do is to go to the bottom of all your route. You make sure that you use this middleware at the end of all the routes. You can see here, I have already skipped all the route, and now just at the end of the last route where we have the delete method, so I'm going to use that middleware. So I will call app.use. So it is a middleware, so I'll just call it normally I will pass not found, just like this. That's the function we define here. Not found. This is the simple function. Express is so powerful that it is going to catch all the routes. Before we implement this middleware, let me show you the problem it is going to solve. So let me just comment it, save our work. I visit our page now. I just go to the home route. So we have this data. So if I try to access a page that doesn't exist in our server, let me just access /test. So we don't have a test page, guys. We don't have this route. So we don't have this route. If I press enter now, this is what we have, guys. Cannot get /test. Cannot get /test. But you don't want a user to be seeing this kind of, it is going to actually be error when a user try to access content and get this kind of response. Okay, it is going to be an error, but actually in the server it is not a real error, guys. What is happening is that you are trying to access something in this route and it is telling you that it cannot see it. Okay, cannot get it. You can't get, there is nothing like this in the server. So to solve this problem now, guys, to solve this problem, that is why we define this middleware. Let me uncomment it now and save our work. Let's go back to the browser and refresh it. Do you see, guys? We have this message. The content you are looking for is not found. Our middleware has run, and because of that, we have this message. Okay, so let's go back, and that is how it works. Remember when we were defining middleware, we said the order matters because our code is going to be executing from the top to the bottom. That is why we put the middleware at the bottom, as you can see it here. It means that it is going to check all the routes from the top to the bottom. If none of them match, it is going to run this one. For you to see it in action, I'm going to move this app.use not found middleware. Let me just move it and put it at the top of our application. Let me just put it before the get route. Let me put it here and save it. Let's go back to our browser. I open the browser. Let me refresh. I still get the same thing, which is okay. It's trying to access the URL that doesn't exist. But now, if I go to the home route, so let's go to the home route, I still get the same thing. If I go to the /post, so if I try to get all the posts now, I still get the same thing. Why is it happening? It is because we use this middleware at the top, and as a result, when the code is executing, it encounters this middleware and it runs this middleware before accessing the home route. and also before accessing the get or post route. Because it has encountered this middleware, it prevents all other routes from running. So that's why we need to put this at the bottom, guys. So I'm going to copy it and put it at the bottom of the route we have defined. So put it here, save it, go back to the browser. We are trying to get all the posts. Let me refresh now and we have all our posts. I hope with these examples and illustration, guys, you can be able to use Express Middleware to create catch-all route. In the next video, we are going to learn how to create middleware to handle errors. Thank you for watching this session. Hello viewers, welcome back to this section. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to create a middleware that enable us to handle error in Express. Let me quickly show you an example of the middleware that is going to handle error in all our routes. As usual, I'm going to define a function here. We just define a function. I'm going to call the function error handler, const error handler. This function can be named anything, but I prefer to name it error handler equals to, I prefer using arrow function, guys, just like this. When you are defining error handling middleware, the first parameter you get here is the error. So I'm going to access the error like this. Then we have the request, response, and the next function. From here, the first parameter is the error, followed by our normal request and response object. Then we have the next function. Now, to keep things very simple, I'm going to log the error just like this. Instead of breaking our app when the error occurs in any of our route, I'm going to return, return rest.status. So the status code is going to be 500, which means internal server error. .json. I'm going to pass a message internal server error. You can equally call the next function and pass the error, but I'm keeping it very simple, guys. To keep things very simple, we're going to send this message with status code of 500, which means internal server error. Before we log the error, let me log a message here, console.log. So I'm going to just log this message like this, something went wrong. We are going to see the URL that the error occurred and the method of the request that triggered the error. So we are going to log it on the console so we can see it in action. With this simple code, guys, I'm telling you it is going to handle the error. Okay. Just like not found middleware, you need to use this error handler middleware at the bottom of your route. Okay, so you can see I have all my route. I'm going to the bottom. This is where I'm going to use it. Let me just call app.use. I'm going to pass the error handler middleware. Before we call this error handler middleware, let me show you the problem it solved for us. So let me just comment it out for the meantime. I'm going to the get route we have here. Let me just throw a new error here. So I'm going to throw error when you access this route, like the home route. I'll just throw error like this. Okay, the error can be any message, but I just pass it error like this. So the code below it cannot be executed. It's going to throw this error. Let's see what is going to happen when we visit this home route. I'm going to open the terminal and run the server. Okay, the server is running, guys. Let me just open the home route in a browser. Let me open it. Do you see we get an error, guys? And you can see the message error, and it has broken our application. All right. So our application has broken, and you can see what we are getting. It is actually the error. And if we go to our server, let me open the server. You can see the app has broken. Our app has broken, and we have this error. That is when we need that middleware to handle the error. So let's go back to our middleware. Let me uncomment it now. comment it like this and save. Okay, our server is now running again. Let's go back to the browser. This time around, I'm going to refresh the browser. Remember, we threw the error, but let me refresh the browser now. Wow, do you see? Do you see now, instead of breaking our application, we got the error message, guys. Let's go back to the terminal. You can see, because we logged the error, that's why you are seeing it here. I just logged this error from the middleware. If I go back, you can see where I logged it. But if I do not log the error here, and just save it like this, so our server is running. Let's go back to the browser, refresh. You can see we have the internal server error message. We go back to our application. You can see our app is still working correctly, guys. Our app is still working correctly even though we have this error, okay? Even though we have the error, our app is still working correctly, and you can see the message we log in the middle where something went wrong. You can see the message here. The URL is the home route and the method of the request is get, okay? So you can see we just log it here. Now, what if I have another error in different route? This time around, let me just quickly cause error here. I'm going to log a username that doesn't exist. I just log a username in the post route. Okay, so when you want to create a post, I'm just logging a username and we do not define this username here. Okay, I want to show you that the error handler middleware is catching all the errors in the different route we have here. Here you can see it is a post route. Okay, I'm causing error here. To see whether the error handler middleware is going to catch the error here, let's open Postman. Okay, this is a Postman. So remember, I'm going to make a post request. I'm trying to create something. So go to the server. I have this sample post here. Let me try to send a post request to this URL, guys. So let me send it. Do you see we have internal server error message occur, and the post was not created because we have returned from that function. The execution of that code was terminated and we have the error message. If we go to the server, you can see now something went wrong message was logged and the URL is /post. That is, we are getting this error from here and the method is post. If I want to see the error that actually occur, I will go back to the middleware and log the error. Just let me save it now. Go back to the Postman and send the request again. This time around, we also have the message. Then if I go to the server, you can see we are logging the error, reference error, username is not defined. Okay, username is not defined. We're actually logging the error and our app is still working, guys, without breaking our application. With simple line of code like this, you can be able to handle error, guys. And what you should bear in mind is that this error handler middleware should be called at the bottom of the route. You can see if you call it at the top, if I carry this thing now, I go and call it at the top before our route. Let's see what is going to happen if I call it before our route. If I call it here and save, I just call it here before all our route. So let me quickly go back to the Postman. Let me send a request. We actually have error occur, guys. What happened is that error middleware was bypassed. As you can see, it was bypassed and our app has broken as well. Reference error, username is not defined. We were not able to catch that error, guys. So that's why you need to call it at the bottom of your post. Okay, so we were not able to catch the error using this middleware when we call it here. As you can see, it broke the application. Let's go back to Postman. Instead of returning the error message, or you can see the gibberish error that we got here that showed that our app has broken. But if I go back to the server this time around, let's move it to the bottom of our route and put it here, save the work. Let's go back to Postman. Our server is running. Let's go back to Postman. Let me send the request again. We have this nice error message without breaking our application, even though we have error in the server. All right. I'm going to remove all the error that I have introduced for illustration purpose. So let me remove this one. Let me remove the error. Instead of throwing error here, I'm also going to remove it. That is the illustration of how to use Error Handling Middleware, guys. I hope with this illustration, you can be able to use the basic error handler in Node Express. Thank you for watching this session.